Good afternoon and excuse me. Good afternoon and welcome. My name is Michele and I'm independent demonstrator with Stamping Up. Thank you for joining me today. Now, if you're new on here, please jump on and say hello and let us know where you're from. We have a wonderful group of ladies that, if they can, or jump on and they love to have a bit of a chat. So I'm sure that they would also love to say hello to you as well. Hi, Anne. How are you? Thank you for joining us today. Okay, so I'm going to get this started fairly quickly today because it could be a little involved. So let me just flip my camera down. Okay, so what I'm looking at using today is the Ringed with Nature stamps and the coordinating dies that go with this. So I've already started playing a little bit because may take us a little while. I am using a sketch challenge from the Global Design Project, which is this one here, which is quite a simple layout. So there's a lot that we can do with this. So this is sort of where my ideas are coming from today. And of course, I'm going to enter this, hopefully if I get this all done and blogged by, when is it due? I've got it written down here. It's due on the 8th. So I've got a couple of days to blog it and get it up. And I'm sure that they would love you all to have a go and join too. Hi, Kayla. Thanks for joining. Great to see you here today. So let's get started. So this is going to be a case of I've got the ideas in my head and let's play around and see what we come up with. If you have any ideas, please throw them at me. I'm not going to promise I will go with them, but we'll definitely consider them. So Ringed with Nature. So what I've done already, I've cut out a card base out of, now let me just remember if I can find this so I can remember what color I've got here. Here we go. Sorry, the memory is a little bit slow today. Shaded Spruce. Hi, Anita. How are you? And with that, I have got some designer series paper. Now, I'm still not sure which one I'm going to use, whether I use the Shaded Spruce in the plaid or whether I'm going to, I don't think I'm going to use that side, whether I'm going to use the music or whether I'm going to use that one. Now, I do love that one, but we'll put all this together and then see which one this goes with. Now, this designer series paper, of course, comes from the Joy of Christmas suite. So it's out of this range here, and there's lots of beautiful papers in there. You'll find that all in the mini catalogue. If you don't have a copy of the mini catalogue, please let me know and I can get one into the mail to you early next week. So I'm going to pop these to one side. Now I've got a couple of pieces here of cherry cobbler because I am going to trim the edges of this with the cherry cobbler on either side. So whether we use that one or we use the music or the plaid, because I just wanted to differentiate a little bit from the background, and I may need to trim this down a little bit. So we're going to pop that to one side and we're going to start creating first. So I've already started by die cutting some of the tree rings. Now this is what comes with, it's not a bundle any longer. It was a bundle from a year or two ago, but it is from the, I do have this written down, from the tree ring dies, which you'll find in the back of your catalogue, and they coordinate with the Ringed of Nature or Ringed with Nature stamp set. So I've got another set of so this is the dies. So it's what they call the oh golly, my brain has just gone frazzled. It's one of those embossing folders hybrid. That's the word I'm thinking of. Okay, so it's part of one of the hybrids embossing folders that Stampin' Up brought out a few years ago. So what you've got is you've got your embossing folder, then you've got your dies. Now these dies have been and the folder have been made specifically for all of this to go together. So when you run this through your cut and emboss, it will all cut together. Now, I've only ever used these a couple of times, and I found out today that I knew I could cut that, but I could add this one to it as well, because all I want is this one die here. So I'm just lining that all up very carefully. I'm going to pop my paper into there. That's the one I want to cut, and sandwich that up. Okay, so I'm just going to hold those together and bring in my cut and emboss. And I'm using plate number 4 on top. And I'm just going to run this through. So I hope you've all got your fingers crossed that it's all going to work for me. Let me just move that forward a little bit. So that all goes through. So let me just pop this to one side out of our road, and let's have a look. And hopefully this is all fine. Now we do have some more die cutting to do. So what it's done for me is it's cut. So it's embossed all my rings here. Okay, and at the same time it's cut them out. Now, I've only done a small portion of it. It will cut a little bit into your embossing folder. Now, Stampin' Up have brought out a few of these hybrid folders over the last few years, and they're actually quite fun. So let me just pop that to one side, and let me get rid of all of this rubbish here. I need that piece, but I don't need, so that's the piece that's come from in the center there, and these are the pieces around the edges that I don't need. So I'm going to pop all this over here in my tray. So what I'm left with, and I've already pre-cut it also, so I've cut that one in. The color I used there was the I'm a little bit all over the place today, aren't I? A bit like that pecan pie. So that one there is just used as pecan pie, and this one here is my crumb cake, of course. So I'm now left with those pieces there. So that's the full piece cut out, or actually one of the smaller ones, but that's the piece, the ring there, the outer ring, and there all your inner rings. And what I want to do is swap these over. So I'm going to pop that one into there and remove those. So this one here is going to fit inside like that. So because you know that you have your outer ring, which is your bark, and then you have your inner rings in the middle. So that's why I've cut those out of those two colors. So we won't need those, so I'll pop them to one side for another time, but I want those there. Now the next thing I'm wanting to do, and I'm thinking of using the house here, and I've chosen two colors now, Misty Moonlight and Boho Blue. Now I'm not quite sure how it's going to go with my greens that I've got, so we just may have to think a little bit on these. This is where I'm sort of thinking I may change this, and I may even change this color here to Old Olive. I'm thinking I've got a piece here, because Old Olive is also in that. Oh, I think I tend to like that better than my Shaded Spruce. I think it's just going to be that little bit softer. And Shaded Spruce is a beautiful color, but it is very bright, very polarizing. I think that's the word that they use these days. Hi, Deborah, how are you? So I'm actually thinking that may be quite pretty, and it's picking up that softer green, which tones those down a bit. So I think we're starting to now get ourselves a bit of an idea, because that's going to go on there and on there like that. Now I'm going to stamp the house, but I'm not going to promise I'm going to use it. I was sort of thinking of going into the greens with the house, but I don't think so. I think I want to have a little bit of a difference. And the other thing I was thinking was the poinsettia. Now, both the house and the poinsettia, if I stamp those, then they would have to be hand cut. So let's see how we go. So I might just block that up anyway. Where are we? There it is, the poinsettia. Because may have to do a little bit of fussy cutting with that. As you can see, I haven't used this stamp set much, and that's why I pulled it out. You sort of have all these stamp sets in your collection, and you don't always necessarily get in and use them. So I've got some white cardstock here, and I'm going to grab a foam mat just to pop underneath, and we'll start off with our poinsettia. Let's just cut or stamp off 2 of these. I hope you're getting nice weather where you are. It's the last half hour or so, 3/4 of an hour, it's decided to go quite grey outside, and it has been a little bit wet and windy. It's sort of like we've gone back to winter. It was quite cold last night here in the Southern Highlands. Okay, so let's just let those sit for a little while, and I am also going to do, I think, the sentiment maybe in, I'll wait for the sentiment because I'm thinking of doing it also in the cherry cobbler, but I might just wait until I've worked out exactly whether I'm using the poinsettia on this or whether I'm going to use the house. It's always cold in Tasmania, isn't it, Kayla? I love Tasmania. There's been quite a few times my husband and I have gone, oh, we'd love to move down there. But it's a case of then, will the boys come and visit? I know one of my boys will, because they love it down there too. Robert and his girlfriend went and spent a couple of weeks down there, about a year or so ago, traveling around. And then there must have been a really good band playing in Tasmania at somewhere, or in Launceston, I think it was. I don't think it was Hobart. And they said it was cheaper to go down to Tasmania to listen to this band than it was to go anywhere else. You've had just over 2 inches of rain. Sunny but cold. Wow, Deborah. So, Deborah, where do you live? Have you told me before? Probably have. Yeah, Gindera. I don't even know what the band was, Kayla, that they went to listen to, but I was actually quite surprised. I sort of went, what? Okay, let's see if I can stamp this and get it nice and okay. We might try that again. I might just start with the roof first for the second one. I'm not quite happy with the way my roof's a little bit out of line. Let's start with the roof and see if that works easier. Just trying to line it up. Well, my stamp touched the paper, so I suppose that's where it's going to be. No, that's terrible again. Okay, let's try one more time. You usually fly to Melbourne to listen to bands. I even traumatized myself and flew to Melbourne to listen to the Wiggles. Oh dear. That's Dedication, isn't it? Dedication to your son. Okay, everyone, cross your fingers. This is going to be third time lucky. I think this is why I haven't played with this one a lot, because I've always struggled with this house. Okay, will I lift it up? Fingers crossed. Oh, yay, that one worked. Okay. So now comes the fun part. Now comes that little bit of fussy cutting. At least you can, with the house, I'm not going to throw away all that cardstock there, because I can stamp on the back of it with my sentiment. At least with the house, it is square and it won't take long to cut. And I'm just going to leave a little bit of a border all the way around it. So Elijah and I were watching back my live videos on my business page, because he was wondering why so many Stampin' Up people knew who he was. We got a laugh watching the young Elijah. I'm like, yeah, it's always good watching back on old videos. Hi, Becky. Welcome. I'm glad you're able to jump on, and thank you for sharing my video. Yeah, it's fun watching back on old things, videos and things like that. My husband and I did a bit of cleaning out the shed last weekend, and not only have we found lots of old photos, but we were talking about throwing away some VCRs we've got. We've got two of them here, and I don't know whether either of them work. And he kept saying to me, but we've got old VCRs we can watch on it. And it's like, do we? And then he commented on one that we had made when my eldest son, who's now 27, and he was only maybe 10 months old. It was from a sister's wedding, and it was sort of like lead up. And I know on this particular video, and I'll have to get it out one day and see if it still works, see if the VCR players still work. But I can remember from it, and it'd be really funny to show him. Whoops, something flicked back out. Let's just bring that back up again. Sorry, back up to there. Yeah, but there's on this video we took is him face planting himself into half or quarter of a watermelon. He loved it, but it was just like, yeah, he just face planted each time and just sucked the living daylights out of this watermelon. But yeah, it's good to watch old things like that, or even going through your photo albums. Sort of thinking I've got a whole stack of photos. I really should just get in and put them all into some memory, some more pages, or project life pages, because I don't actually have, they don't do the big 12 by 12 memories and more pages anymore, unfortunately. So I'm just going around this poinsettia as well. I'm going to do both of them, so bear with me. No, I don't think they would know what a VCR is either, Kayla. It's quite something quite unique and amazing. But we've just got a handful of old VCR tapes that we've sort of always kept. When I was a little girl, I used to watch on TV Andy Pandy, if anyone remembers Andy Pandy. It's way before your time, Kayla. And when my boys were little, we found an Andy Pandy VCR tape of it, and I bought it and made them watch it. Then my boys were quite unusual because we introduced them to lots of things that weren't around, like the Three Stooges. And what else did we introduce them to? Oh, lots of different music, and it's quite funny because my boys are like sort of got now quite a wide variety of music and different types of movies and things that probably a lot of their friends wouldn't know anything about. One of my boys loved Top Cat and went to school dressed up as Top Cat, and his schoolmates didn't know who he was dressed up as. I think I've even got somewhere an old goodies VCR tape that my sister sent me because we loved the goodies when I was a kid. Don't think my boys ever got the appreciation for that. Yeah, it's good to have a few of those old things. It was quite funny when one of my boys was at school. His school teacher introduced him to Catweasel, which was a show that we used to watch when I was a kid, and my sisters and I loved it. He came home like, oh, so excited. Mum, there's this new show called Catweasel. Yeah, Mary Poppins is a good one. Okay, so there we go. So I've cut those out. So let's have a look what we've got now. Now we need to do a bit more die cutting, I think. So let's keep going. So we've got our house, so we can pop that on there. We could even pop, don't want to cover this up completely. We could pop one of those, two of those underneath there. And I think we need to cut, I do have these which I'd previously cut and I've got left over. And these are some of the little branches that comes with these die cuts. So we could pop a couple of those in. And I need to cut some, I think. I've got those which I think are in real red, but I'm thinking I might, no, I don't think that goes. That's not going to go. But I have got some old olive. So let's just do a little bit more die cutting. So I've got some scraps here. So I've got some old olive, got some cherry cobbler, and I've also got some vellum. So let me pop that to one side. And let's cut a few of these. So these are the dies. These are quite nice. And I wanted to cut that one, I think, out in cherry cobbler. And you've got mushrooms and all sorts of things with these. And of course, I could have, you've even got these little pieces here, which could cut out if the centers in your log slices, but I decided not to use those. But what are the other dies? So you've got this die here, which it like cuts out the top of an acorn. You've got this piece here, which I would use for a mushroom, or I have used it in the past for a mushroom. My magnetic tray is working really well. And then these are your mushroom pieces, but you could also flip this around and have that as the bottom of your acorn as well. So, but at the moment I'm concentrating on some of these rather than these little pieces here. So I think trying to work out what I'm going to do. I think we might just cut a few of this one here, which has got like little berries on it. And we might cut all of those. So let me just move that out of the road and move all of that out of the road. That's what happens when you've got a small work area. Everything gets all cramped up a bit. Okay, so let's remove that piece. Whoops, tried to do that so carefully, but dropped it all. Okay, so we want to turn these up that way. We're going to cut out lots of these. They've magnetised a little bit from sitting in that magnetic tray. This is terrible. The only problem with magnetic trays is they will tend to give a little bit of magnetism to whatever you've got in them, and then they get a life of their own. Do want a bit of space in between each one. Let's put the top on this and get this cut before they move again. You've got a daughter at 29. And my eldest son is 27, so then I've got 3 more after him. Enough to keep me busy when I was younger. We're actually off to Sydney on Saturday to go and visit one of them and his girlfriend. They've just moved into a new unit in Neutral Bay. So that'll be nice. They've been wanting us to come up and see their new place. Just going to cut a few more of these. Squish that one in there. Now I'm just wondering whether I might do Kayla was showing us in the last day or two her collection of take-a-pick tools. So I've got 2. I haven't quite got as many as what she has. But I tell you what, I think they are worthwhile having quite a few of them because there are lots of different attachments with your take-a-pick tool. And I think, and that's why I've got more than one, is because then I can use a couple of the different attachments without having to sort of pull it apart all the time. So I can see the reasonings behind it. You reckon a little too many? Nah, don't think so. Don't think you never have too many. But you do have two ends to a take-a-pick tool. Now, this is a take-a-pick tool if no one has seen one before. So you've got, with this particular one, you've got a putty end on this side, and then I've got a stiletto end there, and then I've got a spatula end on that as well. So when you purchase these, it does come with a spare putty, and I think it comes with another end. I'd have to get the catalogue out and have a look at it. But then just recently they've added, you can get a brush end too, so you can brush all these bits and pieces out. And that's why I wanted a couple, so I could have the brush end permanently attached. But I don't think I've done it just as yet, because here's my second one. And I've got my craft knife on there because I do like using a craft knife rather than scissors, especially if I'm doing delicate things. And you've got this little tool here, which is really good for pushing all these little pieces out. So it is handy having more than one. So I can see the method in the madness, as they might say. Not that I'm saying Kayla's mad. I'm not suggesting that at all. I agree with her. I have just so far only got two. Let me just pop that over there. So I want to cut a few more of these berries. Don't want to get too overly carried away. Now, I did have some vellum here because I do want to keep some of this a little bit light, because sometimes these can come a bit heavy. So I'm just going to die cut a few of these. As well. I might as well send a few things through the machine when you're doing them. We're all mad here. Yep. And definitely in an Alice in Wonderland style. As they say, there is a method in the madness. And if the method is good, then I won't complain about the madness. Okay, let's see how we go with this. Otherwise, I can be sitting here die cutting all day. Okay, so let's just start putting some of this together. Now, this is the thing. I was thinking that if I pop that onto the ends there, do I need to make this a bit narrower? And the only other thing I was thinking of doing is maybe grabbing some of the shaded spruce and doing a few more leaves in that. I think I might leave the Night of Navy out. I don't think I like that with it at all. I might cut this down just a little bit more. Might take about 1 centimetre off. Don't need to lose too much. So now I've got these pieces here. And all I've done here is I've cut a piece of cherry cobbler, and it's about 2.5 centimetres to 3 centimetres wide. I probably could even go narrower than that. and then I've cut it the same depth as this piece here. So this piece here is 10.5 centimeters wide by 12 centimeters, or actually 11.9. And then these two little pieces here. So all I'm wanting to do is let's put it there. And then I'm just going to give this a little bit of an edge. I don't want too much of an edge. A bit of an edge there. Whoops. It's about the same width, so I'm just giving that a little bit of a edge. I probably have got a little bit. I'm not going to worry about it. It's probably just a fractionally wider on one side. Now, I do notice before I want to trim this down a little bit. It is 10.5 centimeters, which is the width of our card, but sometimes I like to just take just that 1 mil off. If that, just want to just so that it's just off the fold when it's on the folded card. So here's my card base. So this one I've cut at 14.9 by 21, and I've scored it at 10.5. So that's going to eventually sit there. And by just taking that little bit off, all it's just going to do is just have it sit nicely within that frame. So it still looks like it's going from width to width, but it just sits nicer, I think, anyway. So here's our this piece here. Now what I do want to do is grab some dimensionals. And I just want to line these up within each other. And I'm going to use the dimensionals to hold them together. So I'm going to pop one there, and I'm just going over the two like that, just to hold all of that together nicely. Now I've got a little bit of a gap here, but that's okay because I am going to pop that house maybe onto there. Let's just take some of these backings off. So I haven't glued that down yet. Pop that there. This is going to get built up, I think, a little bit with dimensionals, because I do want to put a couple of dimensionals underneath our house as well. Thank you, Becky. Got roadworks happening outside my side of my house on one side, and I can hear the trucks outside honking their horns. There must be someone out there not doing what they want them to do. So I've got to pop that there. Now I still have a centimetre something to do and add there yet, which is going to go out here somewhere. Now, usually I don't put my dimensionals quite so close so I can slip that underneath, and I'm going to, because I can't, I'm going to find my scissors. And I'm going to just trim away. And then that's going to slip just in there. So all I'm going to do is just put a little bit of glue just there. I don't like to cover all my back with glue, because then if I want to slip more things underneath, I can. So that one can go there. So remember, that's going to sit on top. I'm just going to sit that there for the moment. I'm not quite sure whether that's going to stay there. Let's have a look, see where else we can pop some of these bits and pieces. You can always come back and recut a few more. That can come in there, so I'm happy with that. So again, I just put a little bit of glue on the bits that are going to tuck in and underneath. And that just allows me to have the room to tuck a few more of these other pieces in. I think we might have to add some more of the darker green in there. Oops, we don't want that going over that edge. Got to remember, it's got to fit into an envelope. Might cut some of the shaded spruce now. So let me just pop all of these out, because all the vellum bits are still in there. So let's pop those over there for the moment. And let's grab some shaded spruce. I'm sure I've probably got some little scrappy bits in here. And what I might just do is grab my excuse me a little bit. I'm just going to grab my mini cut and emboss. It's just tucked away down here. I love my little mini because it fits on my table beautifully, and it's so easy just to run these little bits and pieces through. So let's just cut some of these. Let's see if this is going to fit. No, I might need a piece that's slightly bigger. And if I can, I'm going to cut out a couple more of these berry pieces because I quite like that. Don't want too much shaded spruce in this, but just a little bit. I think before I was looking at it, I had too much. It just needed a little bit of softness. Some of these colours that are quite bright and quite bold can, if you're not careful, can overtake what you want to be a highlight on your cards. So always sort of try to look for a balance of, I'll just pop those in my magnetic tray so we don't lose them, a nice balance of colour and texture. Okay, so I'm going to, I think, put another one of these coming just out of there a little bit. Always put a little bit of vellum, one over sort of in that area as well, and that will soften things up a little bit. Don't want to have too much from the top. Whoops, I'm going to tuck that underneath that old olive. Okay, so I think we need to put a bit more of this. Now that one there is not stuck in there yet, but I'm going to so it may get cut down a little bit. Oops. Let's pop that one there. Just wondering, whoop, that brought that right out. Put that back in. Just didn't want to quite stick there, did he? Okay, so if I'm going to that's better. I just wanted to bring that in underneath. So don't be afraid to cut things down if you need to get them to fit in. Now, generally, when I put my dimensionals on, I'll put them on in the center, but I really wanted this to help support the log piece underneath as well. Now, I was wondering, I might glue this down. I was going to think of putting dimensionals on the back, but I think I will just glue it, just for the fact that I'm putting a lot of weight on there, and now I'm just eyeballing. I'm putting a lot of dimensionals, like I've got the log on dimensionals, got the house on dimensionals, so I don't think it needs any more dimensionals. I'm just going to bring that up, just line that up, just eyeballing my distance between either side. I still have to put my sentiment, stamp my sentiment, and pop a sentiment in there. Now, do we need to add some vellum just to give it a bit of lightness? The other way we can give a bit of lightness to this as well is by adding some twine. So just going to grab my linen thread, put that lid on there so it doesn't dry out. I'm just going to grab a length of linen thread. Tie a small bow. Actually, what I might do is try a double bow. Cut my thread probably a little bit too short. I might go back to my other original idea of just doing a single. Thinking at the moment of just popping a glue dot just pop that onto a glue dot there. Give it a good push down. Now I like to grab that glue dot and that bow on the tip of my take a pick tool and then very gently just lifting that up a little bit, pushing that in underneath. I want that to come down there a little bit, and I'll trim those off in a minute. So I just want to see whether, I don't want to add too much on here because I don't want to cover up all that lovely embossing lines and everything you've got on that. I don't know whether you can see it on that timber. Just like it needs sort of have that here, but I don't have any of this up here. So I'm not quite sure yet whether that's going to be just too much. Let's just have a look. It's got a lot going on, but just sort of playing at the moment, just poking things in and I like that there. I just want to have a bit more green around that poinsettia. Now you can never cut too many of these little die cuts, because then you can always use them on other projects. That good push down there just to make sure that's adhered. I think I need to put what I do is if any of these little bits and pieces are left over, I will put them into a cello bag and then pop them in with the stamp set. Don't mind that in there. We've still got our sentiment, we can't forget that. Do want to pop one of these in here as well. Now, I used that berry there. Did I have any more berries? I thought I had one more. Okay, let's just stamp up our sentiment. And if we need to add some more, we can add some more later. Otherwise, I'm going to get too carried away. So let's have a look. We need some white cardstock. There we go. There's some. And the sentiment I thought I would use is going to be Merry Christmas, of course. Now the point is what colour. I think I've got enough. I don't know whether I should be using the cherry cobbler. I mean, there's no other blue or anything there, but that's okay because I think that sort of still gives it quite a bit of lightness. Thanks for watching, Kayla. You have a lovely day. See you later. Okay. We could do it in black. We could do it in cherry cobbler. We could. Oh, let's just have a look. I've got the misty moonlight here. Let's just see what it's going to come up with in that. Because this is going to get cut down. Let's just see what it looks like. Because we've got quite a bit of the cherry cobbler on there. Now, what I am going to need is my little guillotine. And I'm going to cut there. Just using the one because I cut it at an angle, so I'm just using one as a template for the other one, just to get the right angle. So I'm just layering the two on top of each other and then just judging, but getting a little bit of an angle on those. Might see if I can cut that down a little bit more. So to do that, I'm going to use a post-it note. So I just use that as a little bit like a hat, make a handle. And let's see if we can cut this one down a bit. Now this one here has got a little bit more cut a little bit off that side, and I'm going to cut a little bit off the top as well. Just wanting to stick a bit. want that to come out of there, I think. Might just add a couple little dimensionals on there. I've got a few here that I've got. Use up these little strips. I want that sort of just tucked out, coming from out behind there, maybe just a bit higher. And that one can go on there. So the Christmas has got a dimensional behind it, but the Mary, I'm just putting adhesive on half of it, under the M side of it, and then that can go across there like that. Now, the question is, do we need anything more on here? Now we're going to trim this down. And I haven't trimmed the tails down evenly. I've got one slightly longer than the other. Might just pop a little dimensional underneath that Mary. Oops, glue's still damp. So now just put a bit of a dimensional underneath the Y part. Okay, do we need anything else? I think if we put anything else on here, the only other thing I'm thinking is just to add another piece of vellum or something just underneath there, just to soften up and fill up a hole. Would help if I took the lid off the glue, wouldn't it? Wondering, do I have any more? That's all my vellum pieces I've used up. I think I'm just playing now. Don't know whether that piece, I think it might be a bit too much. You want to sort of keep it fairly balanced. Yeah, I think I like that. Do I like that piece underneath there? What do you think? I have just popped this piece here. So that's without. And that's with. Any ideas? It just balances it a little bit more. It's like the triangle. It's like when you're putting down embellishments, you want to work in like a triangular type of effect. sometimes with adding things like this, you still want to continue with that triangular just to keep it balanced. But by tucking it under other things, it's just a hint of colour underneath. There you go. So I think that's it for my card. The only other thing I would add, and I'll probably will do that a bit later on, is maybe a piece inside. I'm just wondering, have I got those little pieces? Let me just throw all this into here so we don't lose them, because we can use those again later on. I trimmed away some pieces of designer series paper, and I'm not quite sure whether I've still got them. I should have somewhere. Let me just trim this piece down. So this piece would need to be a 10 by 14.4. And cut a 1 centimeter strip before off the designer series paper. There it is. See if my guesstimation is about right. A little bit more. Of course, I should have cut that down or glued that on before I put the white piece down. Just a little bit, just to trim the inside. I think what I'll do is a little bit later on, I might cut some of the berries and stick them in there, because I think that could look quite nice. So there you are. There's my card for today, and I'd like to say thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed that. I'm going to try to get this blogged in the next couple of days so I can enter it in the blog hop, or not a blog hop, sorry, enter it in the global design project, the challenge, and I'll put all the measurements and everything on my blog that I used. But as I say, each time I do one of these challenges, have a go. It's a lot of fun. It's especially if you're stuck for ideas, it's really great to go to challenges and let them challenge you, because sometimes it just takes you out of your comfort zone. So as I said before, thank you very much for joining me today. I look forward to seeing you again on Tuesday at 7:30. Sorry about last Tuesday, but I just had a huge amount of sewing to do and had to get that done. So have a lovely day, and I will catch up with you later. Thanks for joining. I do appreciate you. Bye.